Morning, everyone. We are going to get started. It is just a little bit past 9 o'clock, and we will welcome everyone as they come in. But we have a lot to cover today. I am so excited about our third annual Harnessing the Power of Our Watershed. This was our economic impact team's dream a while ago to do one, and it is backed by popular request because we've been able to share practical resources that people can use and give people a chance across the watershed to talk with each other. That's really our goal. Northwoods and Waters of the St. Croix Heritage Area unites the people of the St. Croix watershed on behalf of all of the resources that we share, the natural resources, the cultural and historic resources. And so we are truly thrilled to have you here today to look at the economic impact of being able to leverage those resources on behalf of everyone, people who live here and people who don't, and people who visit. This was the brainchild of our economic impact team, as I said, which is to unite people, like groups, through a shared vision of economic development based on the resources that we have. And I would have asked Nancy Hoffman to just talk a little bit about the impact team, and particularly to recognize our planning people who've been involved in this.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Hoffman. I'm chairing the Economic Impact Team. Our team is about 25 people, so I'm not going to go through the whole list. I don't have them all listed out, but they're people from throughout the watershed, primarily working in either economic development or tourism, but we do have some other folks in there. And we come together to determine how we can work together to improve our tourism and just how can we market better. We got our name Economic Impact from an economic impact analysis that was done a couple of years ago, and you'll hear more about that later on from Melanie. And we work in different ways to support the designation of the National Heritage Area. Typical of Northwoods and Water, we're working together as if we were a National Heritage Area. And so this is one of the reasons we wanted to put this Harnessing the Power of Our Watershed together so that we can learn about ways that we can joint market. And we hope you take home to your community some great ideas on how you can market better in your area. So we have a great lineup today, and I'm sure we'll all be taking things back for our day-to-day work. Thank you.
And one of our key members of the economic impact team is Alyssa Otten. I just want to call her out. Alyssa has been involved with this initiative since the very beginning and is responsible for getting all of the communications about this conference and other things that we're doing out into the watershed. So I just want to recognize you, Alyssa. Often you're in the background and no one notices what you do, but we surely appreciate it. We have many sponsors who are really the wind beneath our wings as we do this kind of work. And so I want to recognize the economic development organizations that have said, we really support what you do. Please use our logo and in this to just let people know that we support what is going on here. Also, our sponsors, we have two major community foundations in the watershed. St. Croix Valley Foundation has been supported from the very beginning. The St. Croix Valley Foundation was responsible for doing the feasibility study in the initial phases of the development, really for about 8 years of our 14 years. The St. Croix Valley Foundation was coordinating what was going on. And the Initiative Foundation has been supportive always as we go through. They're in the upper northwest part of our watershed. And then we have our tourism organizations. Many of you are on the line, and you'll hear from the St. Croix Valley Regional Tourism Alliance from what they're doing, and also Travel Wisconsin and Explore Minnesota. You'll hear about them. And then Great Rivers Confluence is way down in the bottom of the watershed, coordinating things with Afton, Hastings, Prescott, and River Falls. So you can see the power of these organizations coming together to say this is a unique and important place, and we need to continue to work with it also our nonprofits. Wild Rivers Conservancy is another watershed-wide organization, probably the premier environmental conservation organization in our region. Many of you I know are members of that. I see Lauralee. Lauralee is on the board of that organization. Hi, Lauralee. St. Croix Scenic Byway runs through pretty much all of the watershed on the Minnesota side. We hope someday to have it be on the Wisconsin side as well. Old Highway 61 brings visitors all the way up Highway 61. Artreach St. Croix supports the arts and integrates arts and nature and economic development in a very brilliant way. So I just thank all of our sponsors and our speakers. We have a great lineup today. You've heard before from Julie Fox from Travel Wisconsin. We also have Michael Hernandez from Explore Minnesota. Rosemary Mansfield from Scaberta, you'll hear from her. Melanie will talk in just 2 seconds when I'm done. And Katie Malchaw was going to be with us, but there's been a community emergency that she needs to attend to. And so I'm the Katie in as much as anyone can ever replace Katie, which is impossible. Also, I'm delighted that we have SabrinaStoker here from Colorado. Sabrina is an executive director. I'll talk more about that as I introduce her later, but she's actually running a national heritage area and has done some brilliant things with joint marketing. And so we're so happy to have all of you with us. And then welcome to all of you. These are the people who've registered, and you can see the value of having a cross-disciplinary group of people really coming together to think about economic impact in a regional basis. So this is our agenda. I am going to turn the microphone over very soon to Melanie, who will give you an update about Northwoods and Waters. And then we will hear from Julie Fox and Michael Hernandez on resources for strengthening partnerships and collaboration across the heritage area. And they'll each talk from their own perspectives about the resources that they have for you. As you listen to that, even if you're not involved in tourism, which they represent, just think about ways that you can partner with one of the organizations who might be able to access who would be able to access the resources that they have. So think about this from a multidisciplinary way as you listen to the information. And then we have Sabrina and Rosemary are going to give us some solid on the ground examples of how joint marketing is working both here through the St. Croix Valley Regional Tourism Alliance in Colorado at Poudre River National Heritage Area. And I just butchered that. So Sabrina, you will pronounce it for us, I'm sure, beautifully and correctly. So I apologize. Then we'll have some time for discussion and some wrap up and next steps. I've got 2 more slides for you, and this is the one that is always amazing when I put it up. This is our St. Croix River watershed. We cover 2 states, 4 sovereign nations, 8,000 square miles almost, and 18 counties. You see everything else. And once the glaciers left, we had people that arrived, and so we have 12,000 years of human history. When people look at this watershed map, they have said, geez, it looks like the map of Africa, and sometimes it feels like it. It's so large. I like to think about it more as a heart. So in honor of Valentine's Day, I drew my little heart on here because we talk about a national heritage area does not spread another layer of federal restrictions on anything. What a national heritage area does is spread love across an area. And so we all love this place. That's why we're on the call today. And I welcome each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. Melanie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Marty. Good morning, everyone. I'm the co-chair of the Northwoods and Waters board, and I just want to tell you a little bit about the area and our work. For those of you, especially who are new to this, our goals, I'm not going to read through all of this, I'll just highlight, our goals are to create sustainable economic opportunities within that whole watershed, and connect the region. It's huge, it's really diverse, but it's really going to be beneficial to connect it, and we're already seeing those benefits. And then increase awareness and understanding of our heritage, stories, and the resources that are within this area. And finally, achieving National Heritage Area designation, and that's a goal that is going to be achievable and will be ticked off the list. And so the other 3 goals will be continuing with us. I have the next slide, please. So right now there are 61 National Heritage Areas in the United States. This map shows you where they all are. And as you can see, there are none in Minnesota or Wisconsin. So we could really use this. We know we have a lot of heritage here, and the St. Croix watershed is a great example of that. Next, and let's put national in our name. So let's bring it here, and it brings a lot of resources and support, and it really gives us a sense of identity and pulls together all these programs we're already doing, which I will talk about in a bit as well. So one big program that Northwoods and Waters has done and will continue to do is economic impact and economic study analysis. So the goals that I just mentioned naturally led us to begin hosting this webinar, and it also led us to partner with the Carlson School of Business at the University of Minnesota to conduct a thorough study of economic benefits that come from being designated an NHA, and to predict what those benefits would be in our region. So as a forecasting tool. Now, other NHAs have studied, and there's, I think, 25 other NHAs that have studied economic impacts after they were designated, but never before was a study conducted where they predicted what would happen based on others' reports and data. So this was a really novel, unique, and actually got attention outside of our region. Business students worked approximately 1,000 hours as they researched and interviewed experts and analyzed the economic impacts of the 25 NHAs with the studies and other NHAs as well around the country. They applied the resulting multipliers using a conservative approach to have a risk of underestimating impacts rather than overestimating, so that we don't have, you know, a Rosianna or a pie in the sky kind of goal, but really realistic that this is very achievable for our region. And they determined what you see on this slide here within the first 2 years. Oh, if you could go back, please. Within the first 2 years after designation.
Just a minute.
Yep. I have it up here too. I can pull it.
Yeah.
I can just tell you, it'll be $7 million of economic impact on the St. Croix watershed regional economy, meaning an additional $7 million coming in. There we are. And 5.4 million, a result of that is 5.4 million in tax revenue generated for local economies, helping all of our infrastructure. There'll be 1,300 leisure and hospitality jobs created. Those are direct jobs as a result of the enhanced economy. And then another 6,000 jobs, sort of secondary effect jobs. So for our region, these are huge impacts. And now you can move to the next slide, Marty. Sorry for that. So this is all very good news. This is a quick burst to our region, and they also looked at 5 and 10 year multipliers, and it just keeps going up. It's not a direct line, it even keeps going up. So when we get designated, Carlson School has said they are already interested in conducting a follow-up study to test the analysis. So about designation, the political climate can be challenging, but we have a lot going on. And one of our board members actually just spent all of last week lobbying in Washington, D.C. with the Association of NHAs, National Heritage Areas. And this was key. We now have a good picture of what needs to happen to get to designation. We've already started moving in those new directions since last week, and it takes time. And this is how it goes for many NHAs, years of relationship building to get designated. We have a lot of partners who understand the benefits in the region
Everybody else
that will experience after we're designated. So we will get there, and we're always gathering more letters and resolutions of support. So please do contact us about a resolution from your organization or entity, or if you have additional connections that can help with this, please let us know, and we're going to keep working on this. And Marty, did you want to say anything more about the designation?
No, I think that's great what you just shared. The more organizations and groups that we can involve and we can reach out who can learn about this, the better.
Yep. So I'm ready for the next one. And then this act just got passed late last year that formed an additional 6 NHAs and a national system, and Marty's already mentioned this, reemphasize that no NHA can have anything to do with land regulation or land use planning. No regulatory authority. That's always been the case, and it was a restatement of that, and also protects public and private property rights. It's not about changing property laws. It's about, you know, this work that we're already doing, bringing it all together and working towards our shared goals. And so these are all the programs. I'm not going to read through this list, but these are all the programs organized by our goals. And just to give you a heads up, we do have our live webinar event at the end of this month. I think you'll get more information about that by the end of this. And we also have marketing regional products through our trading post. We have multiple online resources that help bring our economic groups together and get information dispersed. This webinar, and we support watershed stewards, coordinate pollinator habitat efforts. And we are poised this year to hire some of our first staff. We're very excited. Everything's growing and expanding. So keep in touch and see what else is going to start happening this year.
Thank you, Melanie. That was a very quick swing through of what we're doing. We know that many of you have heard this before, and so we kept that rather short this time, but we are pretty excited about our next year. The Fred C. and Catherine B. Anderson Foundation has given us funding for our very first executive director. So you will all be hearing more about that. If you don't like your current job, let us know, because we know that many of you on this line would be absolutely fabulous as an executive director. And Heather Logeland's on the line. Hi, Heather. I just wanted to give a shout out to you from the St. Croix Valley Foundation. Heather's been a great advocate for us with the grant writing and fundraising that we have done. And she would do the same for you. I just have to say that with Heather and with the St. Croix Valley Foundation, and that's one of the other hats that Melanie wears. Buck Malik is on the line too. They're both board members of the St. Croix Valley Foundation. This is a tight-knit family we have here in the watershed. I do want to remind all of you that we are going to have, as we go through this time, we're going to be directing questions to our presenters. So please use your chat function and send us notes. Once I'm off the screen and talking, I will look at the chat and be able to direct those questions to the presenters. We are going to turn our attention now to what's happening both in Wisconsin and in Minnesota in terms of tourism and the resources that we might use. And then we're going to ask these two representatives of our states how we can work better together in order to really magnify and utilize the resources that we have. Oh, I did want to let you know, you probably saw this in an email I sent you this morning, that the instructors have prepared a really great guide for you that goes through each of the sessions. There's kind of an outline of what they've done. Buck just did a show and tell, showed it to us. So there's an outline of the key points, and then within there are some questions that you might, just for you to ponder and think about how you might use the information that is presented. And so with that, I am going to turn the podium over to first Julie Fox. Also, we sent out to you the final confirmation materials, which have the incredible bios of all of our presenters. But Julie is the Northwest Regional Tourism Specialist for the Wisconsin Department of Tourism. She connects, your job is to connect tourism industry partners to the marketing resources available, including grant programs, customer service training, and other opportunities. And we love working with Julie. She's a native of this region, lives off and on in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. It's where her parents are right now. And so I'll turn it over to you, Julie. Thank you so much for being here. We love having you here as a presenter.
Well, thank you so much, Marty. I appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen, see if we can get the technology to work as it should. And is everyone seeing the presentation?
It's beautiful, Julie. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to join me today to discuss the work of Travel Wisconsin. As Marty said, my name is Julie Fox, and I'm the Northwest Regional Tourism Specialist for Travel Wisconsin. I am a border town girl, born and raised in St. Croix Falls. It's where I happen to be right now, hanging out with my elderly mother and enjoying my hometown view right now. For many years, I also worked in St. Croix Falls within the Wisconsin State Park System at Wisconsin Interstate Park. So I've always said I feel like I have river water running through my veins. Mm-hmm. Since joining Travel Wisconsin, I work from my home office in Siren. A favorite part of my job is speaking to folks like you who have a very strong sense of place and are passionate about it. Now, this morning, I want to start with a quick overview of the work of Travel Wisconsin. The Department of Tourism markets Wisconsin as a premier travel destination under the brand name Travel Wisconsin. We're the state's destination marketing organization. And in a very crowded and competitive national tourism market, our mission is to cut through and inspire travelers to experience Wisconsin's statewide marketing strategy. We know that travelers don't just stumble upon their vacation destinations, but instead they make decisions based on information that they receive through effective marketing and strategic initiatives. And that's the work that we do at Travel Wisconsin. We promote and elevate the reputation and brand of the state of Wisconsin to drive economic impact. We foster a positive traveler experience for all, and we engage partners across the state in shared goals. So our work is grounded in our brand, which is that lasting impression we make and the reputation that we build. Our brand promise, Wisconsin, where the unexpected is ready to be discovered, is a tangible, authentic benefit that makes Wisconsin a desirable place to visit. And it's a promise that all of us in Wisconsin can stand behind. So, we expect that you may have experienced the Travel Wisconsin brand through our marketing and seasonal campaigns, perhaps seen our ads, hopefully engaged with our social media, driven past our billboards, read those compelling news stories about Wisconsin, or come in contact with a dozen of other consumer touchpoints that we promote. Through it all, our strategic initiatives are designed to drive awareness, reach those travelers, and connect them with destinations. And so we work with DMOs, those destination marketing organizations, the CVBs, the Convention and Visitor Bureaus, to connect individual businesses and nonprofits with our marketing tools and strategies so that collectively we can drive tourism in the state and to this region. So we provide industry partners with a campaign toolkit so you can leverage our brand idea in your promotions. And it's filled with great examples and tips. Here's to those who Wisconsin was the brand idea carried through our 2022 campaigns, and it's continuing in our 2023 campaigns. And we encourage our partners to use the toolkit as a resource. So if you want to grab that QR code, it will link you directly to the toolkit information on our industry website. I'm going to be talking a lot about our industry website, so stay tuned. This, however, is our consumer website, travelwisconsin.com. It's one of our most important tools in our work as the DMO for the state. It's the landing page for travel in Wisconsin, where we inspire visitors to plan their trips and come to Wisconsin to create those shared moments of joy. The website allows travelers to find the information that they're looking for based on their interests and their regions. And our industry partners, those DMOs and CVBs, play a very critical role in ensuring that events, attractions, and businesses in your communities are listed on the website. Now, this is a free advertising resource for those in the tourism industry across the state. And TravelWisconsin.com receives more than 10 million visits annually. So we assume that anyone thinking of traveling Wisconsin will almost certainly land on our page at some point. So it's a huge opportunity to reach travelers and funnel them to your website for more information. I mentioned in my overview that this is one of the points I really wanted to emphasize. And there are other resources that I'll mention in just a moment as well. But in terms of getting those event and business listings on our consumer website, some of the database guidelines include events and other businesses and activities must be tourism related, draw travelers from other areas to yours, and generate revenue. Those events and attractions listed need to be open to the general public, and the listings must provide opportunities that a leisure traveler may be interested in. How do we use this information? Well, it populates listings on TravelWisconsin.com, other stuff that we put on there. Our customer service team refers to it when answering traveler questions. Our PR team uses it in publicity materials and interviews, and our advertising team assesses it for campaign ideas. And it's used in promotions and included in our publications. So essentially, this is we don't know what we don't know. So this is, I tell partners, this is how I can help them, help me, help us, help you in your promotions. So say that 5 times fast. An example of one of those publications is our award-winning travel guide that's pictured here. And then in addition to seasonal marketing campaigns that drive visitors to Wisconsin, Travel Wisconsin dedicates millions of dollars to helping destinations promote themselves. Because inspiring travelers to visit Wisconsin is only part of the journey. It's also important that destinations attract travelers once they've decided to come to the state. So in addition to the Travel Wisconsin website, we offer a variety of programs to our partners, including many co-op advertising programs, grant programs, and I mentioned those publications. These programs enable partners to pool their resources with Travel Wisconsin resources to maximize the value of their dollars and offer opportunities that perhaps would just be financially unattainable. So the co-op program, for example, allows partners to try new marketing tactics in a guided manner with the potential for less risk than doing so on your own. I'm not going to cover the specifics of the co-op opportunities, but again, on our industry website, you can see all of them laid out in detail along with the price points. And essentially, this is a matter of we want all of our followers to become your followers. I also wanted to mention the grant programs. And this is another touch point I really wanted to emphasize. The Joint Effort Marketing Grants, or GEM grants, as we call them, offer funding by matching an organization's eligible marketing expenses to make a promotion or an event come to fruition. The department awards over $1 million, $1.13 million in GEM grant funding each year. That's by statute. The eligible expenses for GEM grant funding include promotional and marketing expenses to attract and bring visitors to your destination to create an economic impact in the area. Now, there are 5 different types of GEM grants. I am not going to cover all of them. I did have a very in-depth conversation with our grants coordinator, Heidi Schultz, and told her, what can we do? We're crossing state lines here. What kind of interstate opportunities might we be able to pitch to our partners in Wisconsin to collaborate with our partners in Minnesota? And essentially 2 that I wanted to highlight here, and we agreed that perhaps the sales promotion GEM grant would be one. Now this grant can fund eligible marketing expenses for a promotion that offers significant incentives to entice travelers to visit for a limited amount of time. Now usually we're talking like a 6 to 8 week promotion. The sales promotions can receive up to 2 consecutive years of funding. And then another one I wanted to mention is there on the bottom, the destination marketing GEM grants. They're intended to fund marketing projects in a specific geographic area where all will benefit from increased visitor spending. And these grants must involve at least 3 municipalities that will benefit from the campaign, and the project should be during a period when the area has not received a substantial number of tourists. In other words, any time of the year when your tourism could use a boost. This grant can be used to attract leisure travelers, business travelers, groups, motor coach or media tours, and these destination marketing campaigns can receive up to 3 non-consecutive years of funding. So for more information about these grants and those industries that are those industry resources that are available, again, please visit industry.travelwisconsin.com or grab that QR code on the screen, and it will take you directly to our industry website where you can find some detailed information about all of these grant programs. And I really want to emphasize this. I know I shared this the last time I spoke with this group, but you really need to partner with your local destination marketing organization. The benefits are numerous. Now, depending on your location, the DMO could be a chamber of commerce, a convention or visitor bureau. Maybe you have a county tourism organization. The DMO mission is to market the destination. And so, some questions to ask yourself: is your local DMO aware of your business or your organization? Have you met with the staff or director? And if not, make sure to make that connection so they know about your business or organization and can promote it. We encourage all of our DMO partners to upload their assets into our travelwisconsin.com database and share with us what's new so we can properly promote that through all of our channels. And the DMO can often provide networking opportunities to connect you with other businesses and potential partnerships for collaboration in your community. That whole joint effort marketing opportunity, you may very well, depending on your exact business or organization model, you may need to partner with one of those DMOs in order to take advantage of our grants program. To stay informed about all of this information, subscribe to any of our email newsletters that cover everything from current marketing initiatives to the latest PR and industry news and opportunities. And then there's also a monthly newsletter from the Office of Outdoor Recreation that has news, events, and resources as well. So far, I've talked about how Travel Wisconsin strategically markets our state and works with industry partners to drive tourism. I just want to very quickly look at some data which shows how powerful our tourism industry is in providing that big economic impact. So this impact information can be found on our industry website under the research tab. There's an infographic on the left, very tiny. I know I grabbed some of those big numbers on your right. And this is the statewide economic impact in Wisconsin for 2021. And just a reminder, yes, I know we're in 2023, but after the tax reporting season ends here this spring, the information for 2022 will be available, and we will make that available on our industry website by the beginning of June or so. And I also wanted to just share, I grabbed 8 Northwest Wisconsin counties in which the watershed lies, and this is some of the economic impact in just those counties collectively. And that's a big boost. And so as this organization talks about economic impact, I wanted to be sure to share that information with you as well. If you're interested in that county by county data, it can be found on our industry website under that research tab, same place. So tourism really does matter. The strategic marketing, business sales, visitor trips, jobs created, that's the power of tourism. And it shows us that tourism isn't something that's just nice to have. It's something that we really need to have to continue to support our economy. And tourism isn't something that just happens, but it's something driven by effective marketing. And so that's why we at Travel Wisconsin and our partners throughout the state work to promote tourism in Wisconsin through strategic, research-based marketing and promotion. And before I end, I just want to share with you a very quick 30-second commercial from our winter campaign. This is like the intermission from all of my talking. So you can see how we're putting it all together at Travel Wisconsin and bringing the brand to life by celebrating those shared moments of joy.
Here's to a Wisconsin winter that'll warm your heart. To wearing big smiles and puffy coats. To declaring every day a snow day. Here's to slowing down just long enough to freeze this moment in time. Here's to those who Wisconsin.
And finally, a public service announcement. Please consider attending the Wisconsin Governor's Conference on Tourism. It's coming up March 12th through the 14th. It's in Green Bay this year. The conference is a great place to network with Wisconsin's travel industry and learn from travel and tourism leaders. So registration is open. We would love to see you there. And I want to close by thanking you again for the opportunity to present to you this morning. For more information about the work of Travel Wisconsin and the tourism marketing resources available to all of our industry partners, please visit industry.travelwisconsin.com. There, I've said it again. Or grab the QR code on the screen and it will take you directly to our industry website. And of course, please reach out to me as your regional contact to learn more about how we can partner to promote this area and Wisconsin. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your attention, and I will stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to Marty, I guess.
Yes, to Marty. Thank you, Julie. That was
You're welcome.
wow, what a breadth of resources. And I love the moments of joy and discover places that haven't been discovered yet. Those messages are just, they're true and possible in Wisconsin. And thank you so much for sharing your passion for what you do and for Wisconsin. I'm going to plant a question in your mind, Julie. And when we're done with Michael's presentation, we're going to ask both of you this question because it's one that I don't have a clear answer for, and I'm hoping you have some, and it's certainly one that our economic impact team can think about. So Tyler asks, do you have resources that municipal planning commissions can use to guide comprehensive plans to take advantage of the economic impacts available in the watershed? So how does your work potentially affect and benefit people who are doing comprehensive plans in all of the cities all throughout our watershed? And just a note that we were asked at one point by the Pine County comprehensive planners to make a presentation because they wanted to fold in the potential impact of a national heritage area as they did their comp plan. So think about that one, Julie. I won't make you answer it now because we're going to ask both you and Michael to answer that question in a minute. Tyler, you hold tight and we'll get that question answered. And we might come back to you for some clarification on that. It is my pleasure now to introduce Michael Hernandez. He's one of our 4 Explore Minnesota Tourism industry relation coordinators. He's the metro area coordinator, and in such he serves the Minnesota counties. He's going to be sharing, as Julie did, about the resources that we have in Minnesota. And then we're going to put the 2 of them on the spot and say, okay, so we've got both of you in different states. How do we coordinate this to those of us that are working in a bi-state manner? So welcome, Michael. It is great to have you with us, and I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. And I personally want to thank Julie for going first. I am the new kid on the block, so I rely on her and her expertise to share the wonderful things that our state agency does. So appreciate her starting this and sharing about our state agencies. Little quickly about me. I actually am a transplant, not born and raised in Minnesota, actually born in Los Angeles, but parents moved out here literally I was probably 10 years old when we came out here, and graduated from South Minneapolis, Washburn High School, and then got an opportunity to job shadow at Meet Minneapolis. So right out of the gate, my sophomore year in high school, I worked for a convention and visitors bureau. That led to an internship, part-time, full-time. And then I was about 5 years there, and then I was called a trader because I went to visit St. Paul. I crossed the river, the Mississippi River, for about 10 years in St. Paul, and then called a trader yet again for going back to Meet Minneapolis to manage the visitor center on Nicollet Mall. So for the last 20 years, I've had a big passion for tourism, helping visitors, and now about 7 months ago, came on board to explore Minnesota tourism, and it was always a dream of mine to work at Explore Minnesota Tourism, since I was always kind of on the partnership side, if you will, working alongside Explore Minnesota Tourism. So in the short time that we have, I just want to kind of cover the Minnesota side of the many things that Julie talked about. So kind of go over some things here. I am looking to my left. I've got another screen here, so just know that. So similar to what Julie mentioned, our numbers are also from 2021. So you'll see there our budget, which I believe has not changed since then. But we have a main office here in St. Paul. That's where I'm at now. If I happen to get up and start waving my hands, excuse me, the sensors sometimes say nobody's here because I am the only one here. So you may see the lights go out behind me. But we have 4 regional offices. We have, and we manage 11 welcome centers. We have 39 both full-time and part-time employees throughout the state. And you'll see there, similar to what Julie mentioned, the vision, mission of Explore Minnesota Tourism, alongside with our 28-person tourism council that covers all sectors of hospitality in the state of Minnesota. For us, again, similar 2021 numbers, but here you can kind of get a good understanding of just the impact, as Julie mentioned, that our industry really does for our individual states. You know, the 25 million visitors that visited our airport, over 20 million person trips in Minnesota. Kind of see a breakdown there of overnight versus day trips. And then I think a lot of our convention and visitors bureaus, our chambers, are now talking about the impact of employment. So you can kind of see how we affect jobs in our state. For me, I wanted to just simply cover again that industry site. Julie talked about that. I think that's key for everyone here, whether you own a business, you are part of a convention and visitors bureau or a chamber, or may know a business. I think it's really important to let that coffee shop owner or that restaurant know that some of these services are here and a lot of them are complimentary. So why not take advantage of them? So you see our industry website there, mngov/tourism-industry. I'll show you a quick kind of screenshot of what it looks like. Julie talked about newsletters that we send out. Probably the easiest way to stay connected with Travel Wisconsin and Explore Minnesota Tourism. So our website, you will see an opportunity to sign up for our EMT Express, as we call it. Goes out every Monday morning. Otherwise, under resources, you can see past editions as well. So do know that. Let's see here, similar to Travel Wisconsin, those free businesses and event listings are very important. So if you have a business or an event that's going to be happening on the Minnesota side, definitely take advantage of those free listings. Here, for example, on the left-hand side would be an event that we're showcasing on our website. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out too is that this information, I think Julie pointed it out, it's really used by our entire staff. So now if our communications team is going to be talking to a journalist or going out to a morning media event, we pull our events, our business listings from here. And for example, on the right-hand side here, this is an events update newsletter that gets sent out to consumers, to visitors. So know that it's not just for the website, it really gets pulled into many areas. So the effort that you put into giving us that information is really shared across our agency. Then similar as well, research, reports, surveys. Maybe this will kind of lead into to answer a little bit about the question that was brought up here, but wonderful section within our industry page for surveys, reports, traveler profiles. So maybe now you have a board of directors or a group that you're trying to pitch an idea, funding perhaps, and you want some statistics. Definitely look at both of our industry pages. Or in our case, you could also reach out to Gretchen or myself, but Gretchen is our in-house research person. So definitely an opportunity to take advantage of that, of in-staff research person here at Explore Minnesota Tourism. And then talked about grants, co-ops for our co-op marketing program. You can see here, we kind of have a breakdown of various co-ops that we are offering right now. So again, as Julie mentioned, don't go at it on your own. Don't buy that $10,000 ad, on the back of a magazine that you probably can't afford. Join it together and work with other partners to have that presence and still be able to have either in that publication or that ad space your name for your business. And let's see here. And then I would probably just say here, for sake of time, the last two things that I want to mention that I think sometimes people do tend to forget about. Wonderful image library. You see here we have almost close to kind of the top area there of a picture, almost 10,000 images that are available. Great way to filter through on the left-hand side. Metro, Northwest, food, summer. So take advantage of these images that are here. And on the flip side as well, you can also update or upload images of your business, of your region. So we can also use that as well. But definitely sometimes an untapped resource that I feel that businesses feel the need to spend a lot of money on photography. When then, a lot of these resources are here for you as well. And then finally, just another quick one that I like, and I feel sometimes, especially these smaller businesses, feel like it's overwhelming, but we do have a website feed. And the best way to describe it is showing you an example. So this is a screenshot of Explore Edina's website. They are the Convention and Visitors Bureau for that community. And if you were to look under their things to do, you could see here at the bottom, instead of them recreating, finding out, spending hundreds of hours trying to find out what events are going to be in their community, you can pull from our website that information, and you can actually then segregate or decide what you want. I only want restaurants, and in my community of Edina or next door in Bloomington as well. And then now this simply just shows up on your website. So this could be a great opportunity maybe for a restaurant, a coffee shop that just wants to highlight their community, and they don't have to go about it by themselves. A lot of this content and information is already available to you. So definitely a good resource to take advantage of. And then lastly, just like Julie mentioned, we have our tourism conference coming up. This would be Tuesday, February 28th. It will be held here at the Doubletree by Hilton in Bloomington, the west side of the Bloomington area by Mall of America. We are offering it still as a hybrid event. So in this case, it's $99 to attend in person. It is just a one-day event. Or you can choose to attend virtually, and there is no cost, but you do need to register. 4 keynotes that we have, great breakouts. It's a wonderful educational conference to attend. And then note that, let's say Tuesday morning, you wake up and you're like, hey, Michael talked about that tourism conference, I should go. You literally can register that morning and still attend. Registration will stay open through the end of the conference. And then again, that information can also be found on our industry page to register. So quick, short, I know to the point, but we want to, Julie and I want to be very mindful of the time. And then we also did want to make sure that we allowed times for questions for each of us. So I will pause there and stop sharing my screen and maybe invite Julie to come back and maybe take some questions for you guys.
Well, you guys are amazing in the resources that you've presented for us in such a short period of time. Thank you so much. So I think we'll start with that comprehensive planning question. Tyler, do you want to say anything more about that question? It was yours. I think the question is what resources are available for people who are trying to do comp plans. Have I summarized that right, Tyler? You need to unmute yourself, please.
There we go. Yes, thanks for summarizing that, and I appreciate you taking the question. Basically, there are so many beautiful resources available in this whole watershed that I think can really help to promote tourism. And I don't think that a lot of those economic impactful resources are reflected in comprehensive plans of some of the smaller villages and communities that are within the watershed. And oftentimes I think that developers can come in and kind of do some detrimental things to not only the watershed but also to those historic villages along the way, and lose the huge opportunity that we have for economic impact via tourism. And I was just wondering if there was some. You've already shared some good statistics, but if there are other maybe resources or recommendations on how to get some of that direction into comprehensive plans to help guide future development of many of the smaller municipalities that are within the watershed.
Sure.
I think it's a great idea, Tyler. Michael, what's your reflection on that?
I can go first. Yeah, like I mentioned, the resources that we have, are more statewide, but definitely reach out to me, us. I think for on the Minnesota side, happy to just start that conversation with our in-person research person, Gretchen. I think that would probably be the next step that I would recommend. The other thing that I may mention is it's still kind of in its infancy, but I'll throw out some names that you may have to just jot down, but there's some wonderful companies out there like Zartico, Zartico, or Adara is another one, Adara. Anyway, these are some companies that are really coming with some fascinating statistics or data for us that show if you have a large event, for example, or just general tourism to your community, where people are coming from. There's no surprise, we're all being followed by these cell phones, and that data is now shared to communities or statewide organizations like us. So we're looking at, I believe, a partnership with Zartico that we would be able to then more or less share that data down to county or city. And don't worry, on the consumer side, it's your information isn't shared, you just become a number, if you will, but it shows how you land to the Twin Cities at the airport, and then what communities you visit, where do you stay. So it kind of just follows you along the way, and it's some very fascinating data, but that could also be of use for communities, for cities. And then our approach is if Explore Minnesota Tourism could more or less buy a larger membership that could then either be used complementary by communities versus having the communities or the cities pay for that, which is very expensive, I believe. So
Thank you, Michael.
Julie, your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks. So some good tips. And yeah, there's the economic impact that we've shared. So that information is available. But to dive a little deeper, Tyler, it seems as though you're really leaning into that, outdoor recreation sort of undeveloped spaces that so many of our travelers come to this beautiful part of the world to enjoy. And I mentioned the Office of Outdoor Recreation. And so within the Department of Tourism, we have a small but mighty Office of Outdoor Recreation, and they also collect economic impact information specific to the outdoor recreation industry. And that is not available generally county by county. That is, we wouldn't be able to really zoom it into the watershed per se, but it really provides a great look at, how the outdoor recreation industry and opportunities and assets that we have are bringing travelers to our area and driving that economic impact. And so that's always a very powerful message to share. And I think, Michael would agree. he and I serve in that sort of boots on the ground, let us help you connect the dots. And so if within our tourism departments, we don't have that exact information that you're looking for, we can most certainly try to connect you to those folks who do. So Michael mentioned some companies, we work with Arrivalist also to kind of track what people are looking for, searching for travel, and when they arrive and how much time they spend and where they spend. And that helps drive, some of our strategic decisions in terms of our marketing efforts. So some of that information, again, it's maybe more broad than specific to a community, but in terms of trying to put some of the information that you would need for a comprehensive planning document into context, it might help. It might help to bring that information to the table or to those people who need to hear it. And here in Wisconsin, also, we work closely with the UW system, the university system, whether through extension or, the small business administration too, often have folks that really can dive into some of that economic impact in terms of, oh gosh, all of those things, workforce and housing and opportunities and, I don't know, everything that you're looking for a comprehensive planning effort. But we can maybe connect you with some of those folks as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you
from
so
both
much.
of you.
Mm-hmm.
We have another question, and I think this is kind of on the heels of COVID and rebounding from international bans. Can you say anything about efforts to attract or anything having to do with the international tourism business? How is it going in Wisconsin and Minnesota?
Yeah, Julie, do you want to go first?
It's been slow, and obviously, with travel bans and all of that, much of it has been lifted. But despite that, the recovery in the international travel sector has been still in the process. And so, in terms of Travel Wisconsin, as the international travel sort of struggles a little bit, but is beginning to rebound, we're now looking at, again, doing some marketing in those spaces. But during those times, during COVID, when there were travel restrictions, it just didn't make much sense strategically with our, relatively small marketing budget to be marketing to those folks. So sometimes the question comes to us like, well, you're not really, you're not doing that outreach. You're not doing that marketing to the international sector. Trust me, we are keeping our eyes on that, and certainly we'll ramp up our efforts again as that recovery continues. It's kind of a, which comes first, the marketing or the traveler, but we have to just watch that pretty strategically. Of course, we have a great number of travelers that come through Minnesota and the Arrowhead region into this part of Wisconsin. And then we are always looking for those international travelers flying into Chicago or Minneapolis, St. Paul, because, we don't have one of those international airports located in our state. And so, we watch these things very carefully. And I think the big picture is that it is recovering. And, hopefully you will hear more about those marketing efforts, perhaps in the future. I don't know if that's really addressing your question, but that's the information that I have to share right now, as we haven't been doing as much in the international marketing space as we had pre-pandemic.
Yeah,
One quick response to you, Michael, and then we're going to go on to, we have more questions and I'm logging them for our final discussion time. So you hang in there and we're going to get back to you with some other questions. But one last comment, Michael, about international visitors.
Thank you. Quickly, a similar story on the Minnesota side. We had a wonderful team of 4 in market development, which is now a team of 1. So more reactive versus proactive. But we are monitoring our MSP airport. I don't have the right number, but let's say out of the 15 nonstop international flights that we once had, we're getting up there. We're now at 9 or 10, let's say, if that number was right at 15. So I believe internally we are looking now at bringing back staff that would fill in those positions that directly market international travel. So similar story. We're kind of, this should be the year where we kind of start marketing it once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, both of you. And hang in there because we're going to hear some examples of joint marketing that's really happening already in our region and with NHAs. And then we're going to come back. We have more questions in chat, but I want to make sure that Sabrina and Rosemary get their time too. Thank you so much. And so we'll turn it over now to, let's start I think you guys are actually tag teaming. They have a really great presentation for us. And so we'll turn it over to both of them. We have Sabrina from Poudre and Rosemary from the St. Croix Valley Regional Tourism Alliance, both with great stories to tell us.
Rosemary, would you like to go first?
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Sabrina. And thank you, Marty, and everyone for inviting me to participate in this very important conference. I represent the St. Croix Valley Regional Tourism Alliance, and many of you are familiar with the organization. We are a nonprofit that started in 1994, so we've been around the Valley for 29 years, and we are so fortunate. We started as an umbrella marketing organization and a bi-state marketing organization to walk alongside the communities and the chambers within the Valley to help them promote tourism and the economic impact of tourism in the Valley. And I'm going to start by talking a little bit, Sabrina and I want to hit events and how events throughout the St. Croix River Valley for the Tourism Alliance drive the economic impact of tourism. One very important event that just happened in Hudson, Wisconsin is Hot Air Affair. And the way Hot Air Affair comes together is through collaboration and through partnerships with not only our organization, but with organizations in the state of Minnesota and beyond throughout the upper Midwest. It was a huge success this year. And I think that's one example. If you go to their Facebook page, if you go to the Hot Air Affair website, you can see what an incredible event that is and how that's driven some tourism into this valley during the winter, which is a shoulder season, as we call it, for tourism, and you all know about those. The other thing that I wanted to talk about are the wonderful heritage opportunities within the valley and the events being held. Yellowstone Trail Days, that drives traffic all the way through the valley. Buck is very involved. Buck Malik, who's with us today, in the Yellowstone Trail Days promotion, and it drives visitors from the state of Minnesota all the way through Wisconsin, and the event is held in the summer months. And the other events and the other area that I wanted to point out is in the northern part of the valley, and that's the Gamel Garden Museum. And the Gamel Garden is really focused on the Swedish heritage in the St. Croix River Valley. And when the Gamel Garden has events, they draw visitors from the south part of the valley up into the northern part of the valley and on into the Chisago Lakes area, which is again another very important Swedish community. So I think for me, this organization represents 52 miles of the river valley and 19 communities. And so the point that I really want to hit hard is we have been very fortunate to be able to work with both Travel Wisconsin and Explore Minnesota and come together and do that partnership marketing and that bi-state marketing. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Sabrina.
Thank you, Rosemary. And thank you to Marty and Nancy and the whole group at the North Woods and Rivers National or Heritage area. It is a pleasure to be with you here today and share some of the insights and things that I'm learning as I go. And I'm also picking up some things from you as well. So thank you again for your time. For clarification on the name, because it ties back into history and heritage, I work for the Poudre River
Thank you.
National Heritage Area. And Poudre is actually French for hide the gunpowder. And as the story goes, fur trappers were traveling through our area and got caught in a snowstorm. So in order to lighten their load, they decided to actually hide the gunpowder that they were carrying in their load. They dug a hole, burnt it so that the ground wouldn't just look like disturbed ground, but maybe a fire. And then were able to safely travel to the next town and come back to find their hidden cache of gunpowder. So that's how we get our name, Poudre. As Rosemary said, we wanted to first start with events, and I'll just share kind of those challenges of an event that we had. We put on an annual event called the Poudre, and it really celebrates the beer industry that we have in Northern Colorado. And can't make beer without good water. And of course, we have a plentiful source of good water with this incredible river we have running through. When the event first started, we were the primary host. The idea was that we had brewers in that were featured, along with a caterer who would pair their food or a tasting bite to go with the taster of the beer, a silent auction, and some educational panels that were more geared towards adult learners, items around the river and that kind of thing. And attendance was about 100. Well, the cost for the event just wasn't really there. We weren't getting the attendance or really being able to drive that community engagement and learning around the heritage area. So we decided to come at this event from a different perspective. And what we came up with was maybe this really should be a celebration of all things about the river and how is it impacting our local agriculture and recreation and education and celebrating this history. So we made a huge shift from being the sole host with a few breweries on site. And this is where the magic really came in with this idea of co-marketing and collaborating with others. Instead of putting on the panels, we invited our educational partners who were the experts in what they do. We created a platform for them to come and do community outreach. So the local 4-H extension came out and did a booth on planting, and we had the Rocky Mountain Raptors Association come out with live animals. And so we start really sharing all that is this natural resource that we have within the river. And we increased our breweries. We switched from a caterer to having food trucks and to 3 live bands. Now we went from having one organization. Oh, and we co-hosted. I think that's the most brilliant thing about the shift was that we looked at the fact that in our community, there are multiple entities like ours that are anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 people in-house, and we're all stretched beyond our capacity. So what happens if you partner with others like the Chamber of Commerce or the local museum, and you're able to then highlight which each entity does best? So we went from one co-host of this event to, we ended up with 36 participating entities in our last event, really a much more community focused, community engaging event, and our attendance was over 400. So that it really just goes to show when you're thinking about who your partners are, making sure you're partnering with those who are the experts in their fields, and we don't always have to be the experts in everything, but maybe we can partner with others who can. Rosemary, I'll turn it over for you and you can start talking about our next topic, those guides.
Thank you, Sabrina. What I wanted to talk about, and I think all of you are familiar with it, the St. Croix Valley Tourism Alliance publishes this annual visitor guide every year. And this has been, and it's by state. So we represent in this guide both Minnesota and Wisconsin communities that border the river. It's our primary marketing tool. And I think that what is amazing about this guide is that in working with the partners, what we always ask them is tell me a little bit about your story, the story of your community, the story of your business, because that's really what resonates with people when they pick up this guide. It's a printed guide, and I know a lot of people believe that print is dead, but trust me, it is not dead. If this guide has proven anything, it's proven that people still want print. The guide is available in all of the visitor centers in Minnesota, the major travel information centers in Minnesota and Wisconsin. We partner with both states to have the guide available. We partner with all of the chambers on both sides of the river, and they have the guides. And it's those people walking in that want information about the St. Croix River Valley. They can pick up this guide and they get information about all of the communities up and down the river valley. And I think one thing that we're learning about the guide is that we really need to explore how to make it resonate with people and make people feel, the advertisers in the guide as well as the communities. What I ask them is, tell me a little bit about your heritage. Tell me a little bit about your history so that we can share that in the guide, because people really resonate with that. So that's been one really key ingredient to put into the guide. We feature a lot of information. We feature outdoor section. We have a section on, we're partnering with Wild Rivers Conservancy to talk about what's going on with them in the river valley. We've partnered with Leave No Trace organization. So it's those partnerships that we're developing, not only through the guide, but we also focus on those on our website and in social media. But again, it goes back to the partnerships that we've created and how we can highlight communities in both Minnesota and Wisconsin and make that river valley, that river, not a boundary, but an opportunity. So that's how, and I can talk more about the guide if you have questions about how we've done that from a bi-state perspective in our question and answer session. And I'll turn this back over to Sabrina.
Thank you, Rosemary. I love that you are highlighting those small businesses and telling the stories of the people who have generations of family and business and heritage to share across both states. Well, we were trying to figure out how in our area, how do we continue to be an economic driver? How do we partner with local businesses, still share the history and the culture, but really think like a tourist? When you're visiting a new place, it's not just about all the things to see. You're also thinking about, where am I going to eat? What do I want to do while I'm there? And so we had funding from the Colorado Tourism Office this year to develop a scavenger hunt, was the idea of where we started from. But we really took this idea of, instead of a scavenger hunt with prizes, we really wanted to create curated tours. And we follow a 45-mile stretch of the river and into the floodplain. And so there's a lot of ground to cover. We ended up dividing this up into 4 sections and created a pass that is very similar to the Explore Minnesota hiking pass through a platform called Bandwango. So I'll share my screen here and you can get a glimpse of our cash pass, aptly named for our river. And so you can see when you have this, it's a mobile exclusive platform. There's no apps to download. You simply sign up. Our pass is actually $10. And with that $10, you end up with over $100 in discounts and deals from our local vendors and businesses. And so really what we're doing here is saying, you know, if you're going to be in the foothills and you're going to be up here in the canyon, which this is a picture of, or if you're going to be in Fort Collins, here's where you're going to want to go, or Windsor or Greeley. And I'll just scroll down and show you, we've got it broken into historic sites. And then some of the things that people love coming to Northern Colorado for is beer. So you can get a 2-for-1 flight. You can go to one of our open spaces and see what the wetlands and the habitat looks like. You can get discounts at Rocky Mountain Adventures, 10% off of whitewater rafting. Who doesn't want to do that? More beer discounts, more history and partnerships. And this has been such a great tool for us to be able to share the history, share the culture, but really think about what do our tourists want and how do we make sure that they're connected with the local businesses. And while we just launched this in October and we're slowly seeing sales go and we're learning how to market it right, it's been fun to watch the businesses find out about it and reach out to us and learn to be a part of it. And within the app, we actually have built-in ads. So later down the road, if we'd like to sell those ad placements, we can. Right now, what we're using this for is to actually promote the other two Colorado heritage areas. So we really wanted to come at it with this comprehensive approach of not just bringing attention to the Poudre River National Heritage Area, but that we're one of three. And if you're having a great time on our end of the state, 2 hours away, you've got South Park, and another 2 hours, you can reach Sangre de Cristo. So the Cash Pass is certainly a labor of love. It has taken, it took about 6 months to get this platform all up and running. And we're focusing on marketing by creating toolkits, similar to what Julie was talking about, having toolkits that are available then for our business partners. We're working with hotels to have it available and reaching out to local conferences and making this available to their participants as well. And we're seeing slow and steady. So when we get down to challenges, I'll talk a little bit more about challenges that we're having with the marketing of this. With that, we'll talk about working across boundaries. Rosemary?
Thanks, Sabrina. I think the biggest thing that I want to talk about is the wonderful support that the Tourism Alliance has had from both Minnesota and Wisconsin. It goes back to when the organization was founded back in 1994, when the two governors of Minnesota and Wisconsin came together and signed the bylaws for this organization in the middle of the St. Croix River on a riverboat, because they truly believed in the power of tourism in the St. Croix River Valley. And as I said before, they saw the river not as a barrier between the two states, but as an opportunity for the two states to work together to really expand and grow the communities in the St. Croix River Valley. And we have the support. We're very fortunate to have the support of the chambers of commerce in the communities that run up and down the river valley, and the CVBs and other smaller tourism organizations. It's been an incredible partnership that we've been able to bring together and that we've been able to continue over the last 29 years. And it's really because of the willingness of the communities in the valley to work with one another, and for our organization to help the communities promote one another. So if there is something happening in Stillwater, Minnesota, it's my responsibility to make sure that the communities in Wisconsin know about that event or that happening going on in Stillwater. And as people come in to visit in the chambers, they can share that information and say, hey, there's this great thing going on in Stillwater this weekend, and vice versa. So that's really where we've had an opportunity to come together and help the communities understand how important that partnership is between the two states. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Sabrina.
Thanks, Rosemary. I don't have the expertise that you have of working across state boundaries, but one of the things that we have going on in Colorado is this interstate work that we're doing across the 3 Colorado heritage areas. So a few years ago, the team came up with the idea of, what if we promoted one Colorado heritage journey that takes the traveler to all 3 sites? And it was a good idea, but kind of got nowhere. So what we have recently done is again, through another grant from the Colorado Tourism Office, we have gotten a grant to rebrand a website. And so we're working to create new logos that are coordinated but cohesive across the 3 Colorado heritage areas. So they'll still feel individual to who we are, but it'll start to create a branded look and feel across the 3 heritage areas, and one website that is all about sharing what is the National Heritage Area, what do the 3 in Colorado have to offer, because they are quite distinct from one another. But then it also sets up these, again, with the curated tours and itinerary idea, we build out 3 to 5 day itineraries where you can come spend a day in the Poudre River National Heritage Area and here are the top 4 things to see. And if you have an extra day, Rocky Mountain National Park is right in our backyard. In fact, that's where the river begins. So spend a day in Rocky Mountain National Park and explore all it has to offer, or take advantage of the Cash Pass. For that $10 savings, you get a $10 purchase, you get a ton more savings of other things to do. And then, like I said, you can drive down to South Park and explore the South Park City Museum and see what a real mining town looked like back in the day of the gold rush. And then you got a day or 2 if you have the time to spend down in the Sangre de Cristo Heritage Area and also spend some time at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. So it's a way for us to collectively tell snippets of who we are individually, but then we're going to take that platform and go out to a national market. That's where we're going to go out to Yelp, and we're going out to all the travel sites. And I've told our team my goal, and I realize that it's ambitious before I say it out loud to this group of experts. If we Googled where to visit in Colorado, I want the Colorado National Heritage Areas to be on the top 10 sites that you'd come up with. So there's a lot of work for us to do to get there. But again, we're working together, not to share what all the things that are happening within the area, but really to say how can we make one touch point for those tourists to find all 3 of us. And again, it's come back to this, what does this look like for capacity and who has time for what? And we've had to tag team and coordinate and really look at who has the capability to implement this. And it's taken a lot of years to get to this point, a lot of conversations, a lot of researching funding opportunities. But really, when we think about sustainability, our ability to sustain this is through ad placement or sponsorship of the website. And we're looking at this as potentially an opportunity to diversify revenue for the heritage areas. So the collaborative work continues to go, but I think there's something magical in saying, how can we work together to really leverage and promote this incredible heritage we have across boundaries?
We're going to end with talking a little bit about the challenges we have with working across boundaries. And I think for me, it's really about education, and it's about I need to be consistent and have ongoing communication regarding the benefits of partnerships with everyone I work with within the River Valley. I think we need to broaden our focus, and this is the big challenge, is to broaden our focus beyond our communities, beyond our organizations, beyond our businesses, and we need to take a risk, and we need to reach out and think about those other people that we could partner with. I think for me, as I work with people, the biggest challenge is everybody is busy and everybody gets focused on their community and their one business or their one organization. And it's just helping them step outside of that and broaden their focus. And again, reach out and take a risk and ask someone, do you have volunteers that you might be able to loan me that would help me with my event? Or do you have marketing expertise in this area? Or have you done this before? And how did it work for you? Those kinds of conversations are so important and so critical to the success of working across boundaries, whether they're state boundaries, regional boundaries, or even community boundaries. So that's the biggest challenge that I face with this organization. And Sabrina, I'll turn it over to you.
So my challenges are a little different, right? Our entity, our managing entity is the Poudre Heritage Alliance. They started right where Northwoods and Waters is. There was an entity who believed that this is what we needed to do. We needed a heritage area. And then in 2009, so the PHA has been around for 21 years. And in 2009, the Cache la Poudre River Heritage Area received its designation. So we've been around for 15 years as a National Heritage Area. And in all that time, there's been a ton of work. And what I see has been one of the challenges is with a small team, there hasn't been marketing expertise. Lots of fantastic, incredible, community engaging programming ideas. And there's always funds for program development, but no real planning for then how do we market this and get it out into the community? How do we create a program that then is going to be sustainable? And I appreciated that about the slides that were shown early on, is sustainability is the key here. We can create a lot of incredible programming for our region, but what happens if it sits on a shelf and collects dust? And so that's where really in Colorado, we're really pushing the boundaries and really pushing our team members to think about, if we are going to create something new, how do we continue to market it? And how do we continue to make sure that it's sustainable? Some of the things that we're experimenting with are, we're investing in professional development for our team, for a team member in particular, to attend classes on marketing and communications and to really strengthen those skill sets within house. But we're also making sure we're partnering with those who bring in marketing experts. So we're learning and growing from our partners as well. We're also focused on building an annual marketing plan instead of randomly choosing to promote something on news in our newsletters or on social media. We're taking a more thoughtful seasonal approach to, this is the time of year where we are promoting our spring field trip assistance grants to get children out of the watershed and out of the classroom and into the watershed for hands-on place-based learning about our culture and heritage. And in a few months, we're going to be focused on our river safety initiatives. As that snowpack melts off and our river waters rise, we're going to be pushing that programming about how to be safe when you're out on the river. Then we'll get into our summer season where we're focused on our events and we're focused on peddling the Poudre and our tourism guides. And then we roll right into the fall season again with more educational opportunities and our conference, our water and ag conference that we put on. So really being thoughtful about how do we do this? And we're really learning and growing. So really challenging our team to think about, if we're going to develop a program, one, is it needed in our community? Two, are we the ones who will be long-term holding these programs? Or three, if we get it started, do we have a partner in mind that we pass this off for sustainability? It might be that I'll give you an example of our Heritage Culturalist program. Traditionally, we have been recruiting volunteers to provide walking and cycling tours along the river where they share the culture and the history of the region in private tours. But there are other groups who do that. So what we're doing with sustainability in mind is hosting a training or two per year and then inviting our partners in who already have the volunteer or staff to do that. They have the recruitment and those stewardship placement pieces in place to retain their volunteers and staff. And our role now is just the training and information part. So that's how we're starting to approach sustainability. But I think we still have some time. I'd love to hear from the group, your questions for Rosemary or myself, or even your ideas or your challenges around marketing and sustainability.
We have a question that I think is a really good one, and I'm going to pose it to the two of you, but knowing that we have other people on here who may have an answer to the question. The question is there data really showing that tourists prefer to visit more than one community? Or do they just go to one community? And the comment is, the first impulse of communities is to compete with each other. Come and see us, come and stay with us. And regional success really requires getting over that and moving between communities. So the question is there data that shows that, or is what is your anecdotal belief about it?
Rosemary,
I can speak to that a little bit. I don't have any hard data that is current. And the Alliance did research back in the late 1990s. And that research asked the question of visitors to the Valley, when you come to the St. Croix River Valley to visit a community, do you leave that community and do you spend time traveling and exploring the rest of the valley? And as memory serves me, the answer in most instances was yes. They don't stay just in that particular community that they came to. Now, this is back in the 90s, so a lot has changed. But what I find when I'm working with the communities and I'm putting together the guide and I'm having discussions with chambers and chamber directors, oftentimes the visitors coming into the chambers will say to them, I want to know more about what's available in the St. Croix River Valley. And so they'll pull out our visitor guide and they'll show them the map of the valley in the middle of the guide. And they'll talk them through, as Sabrina mentioned earlier, kind of an itinerary of where they could visit in the valley. Obviously, they ask the questions, what is it that you're interested in? So they can direct that travel. But most people leave that home base. I shouldn't say most, I'm sorry. Some people leave that home base of where they came to visit, and they will go out and explore the valley, even if it's just going out into nature. So that's the best answer I can give. Sabrina, do you have any wisdom on that?
I'm not sure that I have wisdom. I can share some observations. And I think that's a fantastic question. I would really love to dig into that in Colorado and see if there is any data there. My observation, since our office is located in a visitor center, in one of the Colorado visitor centers, we're about 45 miles south of Cheyenne, Wyoming. So we are one of the larger ones coming in if you're coming in southbound into Colorado. A lot of the travelers passing through are passing through our region. And so they're not looking at just one community. They want to know in this area, what are the highlights? And I think Rosemary is spot on. Our visitor centers are focused on what are your interests? Are you interested in history? Are you interested in nature? Are you interested in water? And they're trying to tailor fit to the individual visitors what they're most interested in, and or hitting the highlights. You know, we are so close to Rocky Mountain National Park, and you have this incredible river, and there's this fantastic whitewater park right in the middle of downtown Fort Collins. And, you know, you drive just 20 minutes down to Greeley and you've got this incredible Centennial Museum. And I see that from a work perspective. I will say, as a person who came from the East Coast and lived in Colorado for 6 years, anytime I had family and friends visiting Colorado, I was the stop on their tour. And they were trying to hit Vail and Aspen and go up to Breckenridge and come back through, you know, Colorado Springs and hit the Garden of the Gods. And Colorado offers such varying different landscapes that is it a state where people are naturally trying to hit as much as they can as they go through. But I would say the offset to that is you're going to still have those travelers who want to come to a community and do lots of things within that one community.
I would agree. I think the other thing that I wanted to mention is that it does depend on why people are coming to visit the valley. But I think if they're coming to shop and to dine, then they may perhaps just stay in one community. But most often what I hear from the communities I'm working with is when people are in the St. Croix River Valley, they don't really realize if they're crossing the river. So they don't even recognize what state they're in often, because they've been crossing the river from a Stillwater to come to Hudson. From Hudson, they'll drive north and go to Osceola and then cross back over the river and go up into Chisago Lakes. So they really are traveling and winding their way across the river and in and out of the two states. So I think if that helps at all.
Thank you, both of you. I'm going to ask Michael and Julie to come back online. I also, Nancy Morgan, I'm going to, if you're still online, I'd like to kind of put you on the spot because I do that to people. And Chris Stein, if you also could come online with us. I'll tell you who these other people are. This is Chris Stein. Chris Stein is the Midwest Director. I can never remember your total. What is your total title, Chris?
I'm a park ranger with the National Park Service.
Yeah, he's not. He is, yes, and has been for years, but he's also the Midwest coordinator of partnerships extraordinaire. How's that?
That's good, Marty. Thank you.
And he is online with us. It was Chris was really active in getting, as the park superintendent here, helping get us started in terms of allowing the staff to provide the technical services that National Park Services do. These things are never run by National Park Services. And Nancy Morgan, hi Nancy. Nancy is with us. Nancy was really instrumental in putting together our initial feasibility study, which is a fantastic document. And it is online. You can go to northwoodsandwaters.org, and the feasibility study in its entirety is there. And it's beautiful in the way that it, outlines the resources that we have and why 1,200 people and more, 1,200 that we could document, believed that this was an incredible idea and we should go forward with it. So Nancy, so good to see you. Nancy, you're in Colorado now, right?
I am, yes.
So meet Sabrina. Great. Nancy is a national consultant for National Heritage Areas. If you haven't had a chance to meet her, you guys should have coffee because she's just a wealth of information, as is Chris. And on the line earlier was Liz Viemeyer, who was the person that actually reviewed our feasibility study and said yes, after working with her for quite some time, yes, you meet all of the 10 criteria for being a national heritage area. So we've had really often she had to leave, but we've had really great people online today, and there's many more here that I'm not calling out, and I'd love to, but these are the people that have a really regional information to be able to share about these questions. So I'm going to just broaden that question to all of you. What is your idea about this pulling people through an area as opposed to people just visiting one? Does this regional tourism concept really work? Or are people looking for more of a concentrated area?
Well, I'll jump in just from a personal and professional perspective. My region is in a mostly rural area, and we are always talking about destination marketing that is not just one community, but marketing an area. And a lot of times that's simply out of necessity. The one community might have the lodging, another community has the dining, another community has the attraction. And so in many of the areas that make up my region, it's absolutely necessary for each community to really highlight their best assets, find out what's unique about their location, and then really brand themselves in that way. I mean, and then work together with the neighbors in order to bring people to the area. And certainly, people can come to one community and head home, but that's not the idea. We want to give them so much to see and do that if not on that first visit, they will determine that they need to come back because there's so much to do in the area. And so that's where, guides like Rosemary's guide, that spans an area, and any of the DMOs and the visitor information centers, all of those places that are asking the visitors those questions, how much time do you have? What do you want to do? What do you want to see? And if not this trip, the next trip. I mean, that's the collaboration of everyone working together and understanding that, truly that rising tide floats all of our boats. So, that's just critical to the work that we do, is that destination marketing. We want to bring people to the state of Wisconsin, and then, hey, everybody, all of the DMOs work together to certainly highlight what you have to offer. But make sure that you're telling people about so many things that they have to stay, because obviously that drives the economic impact to an area. The longer people will stay, the more money they're going to spend, and the more that's going to help the industry and the communities as a whole. And so I know I'm kind of, preaching to the choir here, but it really is critical to have that cross promotion, collaboration, truly destination marketing, while still staying true to what it is, you really want to promote the most. And I think, Sabrina and Rosemary have both talked to that in their examples.
Thank you, Julie.
Well,
Nancy has
I'll
a comment.
pop in. Sure. I think across the nation with national heritage areas, we also see that many of the people that come to visit the sites and the communities within national heritage areas are regionally based already. They're day trippers, or they're one overnight on a weekend. And therefore, when you're doing that regional collaboration of marketing, this weekend they might hit one community, but the next weekend they're going to hit the next one. And so by connecting these communities together over time, you're really getting that regional audience in. And I think that's one of the things that national heritage areas do really well.
Excellent. Thank you. The other question is, have any of you had examples, or have you done familiarization tours for some of the visitors bureaus or other people who are interested in learning more about the region and what it has to offer? Have any of you done those?
We have done those in the past, and they were very successful. Yeah, I was not part of the organization when they were doing the FAM tours, but I have information on them, and they were extremely successful, and really gave people an opportunity to see a good cross-section of what's in the St. Croix River Valley. So yes, the Alliance has done them in the past.
I think in our future, when I think about what we need to do, and this is a question that I'm going to ask all of us online as we have the last few minutes together, is to think about, you've heard all of these opportunities that have been presented today, with really great examples from our presenters. The economic impact team and Northwoods and Waters for sure is thinking about what does the future hold, and what of these things are really exciting to us. And so I'm just going to ask you all that question. You've heard a lot of different things today. Which of those things do you think really you get excited about and you think hold promise? So I'm asking that to all of you that are online right now, not just our presenters. But we've talked about familiarization tours for quite some time. If we're going to draw people through our watershed based on themes, or based on anything, it's a big watershed. And we find that we're really disconnected in so many ways because it's large, and people don't think about this will be a generalization. People in Stillwater typically don't think about sending tourists or sending visitors to Gordon in Wisconsin. It's way up in the watershed, and I wouldn't have had I never been involved, had I not been involved with North Woods and Waters. Now I want to send everybody to Gordon. You all go there because it is so rich in history and it's such a gorgeous place. I didn't know. And so I think for us, that's one of the things I get excited about in the future, is to be able to do some of that, whether it's physical, getting in a bus and traveling, or it's virtual. But that is one of the things that I do get excited about. How about the rest of you? What are some of the things that you think about as we've listened to this? You can either chat or turn on your screen or just yell. I don't care.
Marty, this is Heather, and I'm in my car, so I'm not putting my camera on. Heather Loveland with the St. Croix Valley Foundation. But, I was thinking the same thing about the regional promotion. And I mean, I don't even think you have to say Stillwater to Gordon. I think Stillwater to Frederick. I just think there are so many people in our region who really haven't gone kind of much beyond that 20 to 30 mile radius. And yet, for so many of them, they live here because they love what we've got here. They just don't know what we've got outside of their bubble. And so I love the idea of kind of really focusing on how we can do more of that cross promotion. And yes, maybe a 20-minute trip doesn't result in a hotel stay, but the more that we get people to do that, the more we can start thinking more about regional tourism.
Thing that I'm
Thank you. Heather, thank you for that. It is, you're absolutely right that it is. I gave an extreme example, but I do believe that we don't know the connections. And I'll reinforce that with a story. There is a international fiddle festival in Luck, Wisconsin. Luck, Wisconsin, for those of you that don't live here, is, I don't know, 40 minutes from Gamble Garden Museum, who just did a fiddle festival there on their grounds. And those two groups don't communicate with each other. They didn't know each other until we started doing the National Heritage Area work. And those are likely, you can still do them in both places, but let people know that both of these things are happening. And I think that's the joy of having a National Heritage Area, are those opportunities for the light bulb to go off and say, hey, we can do this together. I'm also loving the idea of the festival. One of the other ideas that we've talked about is a taste of the watershed, where we would do like what you talked about, Sabrina. It would be a literal physical taste of all of the foods and the wines and the beer that's brewed here. But it would be an opportunity for all of these other organizations to come forward and say, hey, this is who we are and this is what we do. And I think it would be wildly popular. We just have had volunteer staff. We're looking at being able to expand and do some of those events in the future. Other ideas that those of you who are online that liked hearing about?
This might seem kind of strange, but in Prescott, the businesses got together and proposed a 1% tax on themselves. And the 1% tax is to promote tourism. The city gets to control 30% of it. They put a metal sculpture on the riverfront last year with their 30%. And then the tourism group gets to control the other 70%. They have come to the History Center and asked if they can help us put new signs on the building and this type of things. So the businesses finally realized that rather than competing, if they actually work together, they may all succeed more. So that's kind of what's happening in Prescott.
And then Prescott, of course, is surrounded by the Great Rivers Confluence Group, which brings in 4 other communities for some joint promotion and marketing. And our heritage area is working to link all of those different groups to make it happen. Buck, I just saw you put a hand up and now I see it's down. Do you have something you wanted to ask or comment on?
Actually, I was just applauding the Prescott comment and their success. Yeah.
That was a clap. Okay.
That was the clap hand, yeah, from the reactions down there on the bottom.
I know it's so great with my emojis. Sorry. But you also said that Sabrina produced a 3-ring binder of tourist attraction that's used for employee training and used to answer tourist questions, and it could be online. That sort of thing could be online. We also could have kiosks throughout the area that did the same thing. You know, this is where you are in the watershed. Here's a QR code to find out what's in another community somewhere else. So I get really excited about all of these opportunities when we start to think regionally, because that's, of course, if you go back to this land before European settlers, it was regional. I know the St. Croix and the Namekagon was the interstate, and the byways were the Snake and all of the other 9 tributaries, and then the streams were used. I mean, it was a unit because that's the way the water flowed. And it's lovely to think of us being more like that now again, as we build these connections. Nancy, do you have this is your gig, really. You put me up as the mouthpiece here, but do you have some concluding thoughts for us?
Well, I didn't know if I had concluding thoughts, but I did like what Sabrina talked about in regards to training volunteers. We have so many people that know so much about the region and the areas, and whether it's history, heritage, tourism. I know that's sometimes training volunteers and gathering volunteers is a big job, but I just think that that's something I could see working here.
When you're talking about that, are you talking about jointly training volunteers from different places?
Yeah, Sabrina talked about them putting on the trainings for the volunteers so they would understand, you know, the areas. And I think she was talking mostly about heritage.
Cool.
So, yeah.
It's a great idea. And do you have concluding comments for us?
Well, my head is spinning. All kinds of ideas, things that I think we could do here. I think things that we've started to do and we've talked about, and now it's a matter of really honing in on what can we do and implementing. So it's been a very valuable day for me.
I'm going to share my screen for just a moment and take us out to the end of what it is that we're doing here. See if this can move for me. So there are some next steps that we would love for you to consider doing. If you're not already involved, we'd love to have you join our economic impact team with that mission of uniting groups throughout the watershed with that shared vision of economic development based on the resources that we have, those natural, cultural, and historic resources. We'd love to have your organization sign a resolution in support of designation. And if you want a speaker to present information about who we are before that happens or whenever, we like nothing better than to talk about this amazing place that we have that many of us call home. And so invite us, stay in touch with us through the newsletter and other ways. So it's going to take all of us really to get the designation to happen. And you have, from your positions, we think an elevated ability to make it happen. When this takes an act of Congress, and the economic impact speaks volumes to our elected officials. And if you see the benefits of this for your communities and you call them and tell them that you think it's a good idea and it poses absolutely no threats to anyone, that's really beneficial. It's a stronger voice than they're used to our voice. And so it's a stronger voice when you step forward, and your resolutions are worth their weight in gold. And so that brings us to the end of Harnessing the Power of Our Watershed. I want to again thank our sponsors. You guys are amazing. I want to thank our speakers. We learned so much from all of you today. We know because we walked part of that road with you, that you put a lot of time and energy and effort into making sure that what you had to say to us would be valuable. And I know I express everyone who's online to say it was very valuable to us, and we really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who attended. It is heartwarming to see that we're now in our 3rd annual conference and people are finding it valuable and continue to participate. And we know that there are many, always there are double the people who are online who will look at this as we post the recording, and we sometimes see quadruple interest in this. So do stay in touch with us. Make sure that you're signed up for our newsletter and think about getting involved with the Economic Impact Team. So go forth, have a wonderful day, and I will conclude this year's annual conference. Thank you to everyone.